Boris and the Worrisome Wakies by Helen Lester. All righty, Boris. The sun's coming up, and you know what that means for badgers. Bedtime. But Boris the badger cub did not like to go to bed. Do I have to? Boris said. Just like every morning. Yes, Mama said. I don't want to, Boris said, just like every morning. Too bad, Papa said. So Boris put on his PJs and grumped into bed. His parents gave him a good morning kiss and whispered, "Have a nice day," and tiptoed away. Before long, the Worrisome Wakies began. My ear itches. I need more water. My covers came off. Mama and Papa whispered, "Go to sleep, Boris." I'm hungry. And later, I can't find my ice skates. I think my PJs are on backwards. Mama and Papa called, "Go to sleep, Boris." And even later, if I went to the moon, would you miss me? My cuddle bunny is hogging the bed. I'm scared of the light. Papa and Mama badgered, "Go to sleep, Boris. Go to sleep, Boris. Go to sleep, Boris." But Boris had the Worrisome Wakies that day and every day. By nightfall, when it was time to get up for school, he was a very tired badger. Every morning, Miss Happy Snout greeted her students at the door. "Good night, Mabel." "Good night." "Good night, Hubert." "Buenas noches, Carlos." "Good night, Boris." The other cubs had enjoyed a good day's sleep. As Boris shuffled sleepily into the classroom, they chanted. Everyone joined the chorus. "Here comes the snoring Boris. What does he do? He bores us. Get it, get it, get it?" But Boris just plopped down at his desk and snored. Boris was a boring cubmate all through gym, art, and even lunch. At the library, and even music. And in Mrs. Happy Snout's classroom, Boris was usually a cubby in a cubby. Boris' classmates tried to make him laugh. "Hey, Boris, want to hear a bad badger joke?" They tried bothering him. "Coochie coochie coo!" Poke, 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 poke. And Miss Happy Snout unhappily tried reasoning with him. "Boris, dear, if you slept at home during the day, I'm sure school would be more enjoyable for you." But Boris's Worrisome Wakies continued at home, as did his snoozing at school. After a while, his cub mates stopped noticing sleeping Boris. Night after night, it was like he wasn't even there. Cubs bumped into him. They walked over him, used him as a wastebasket. Sometimes even Miss Happy Snout forgot about him. "Good night, Mabel." "Good night, Hubert." "Buenas noches, Carlos." "Good night, who's it?" One early morning, when it was time to go home from school, Boris's cubmates were especially loud. "Was that a great badger ball game or what? And wow, Miss Happy Snout's exploding science experiment was awesome. Oh, Mabel's birthday cupcakes were so delicious." The cubby in a cubby sat up and he stretched. What did I miss?" Boris asked. "Lots," replied his cubmates. Like field day. We all got medals. And class picture. The school play. You were a rock. And your chance to be line leader of the week. Nobody could follow you." Oh, said Boris. Tucked in bed that morning, after Mama and Papa had wished him a nice day, Boris began the Worrisome Wakies as usual. "My leg hurts. I need a turkey sandwich." And not as quite as usual. "I want to do a science experiment. Somebody bring me a cupcake. I really need a medal. May I be the line leader?" Whoa, wait a minute. Science experiment, cupcake, field day medal, line leader. All the wonderful things he had missed and more. But why? It had to be the Wakies. The Worrisome Wakies. "Aha!" yelped Boris. Suddenly he knew what to do. Boris scratched his itchies, quenched his thirsties, and fed his hungries. He had even adjusted his PJs, put away his skates, and tucked in his cuddle bunny. Then he pulled down his window shade so he couldn't see the scary light. And with that, Boris banished all of the worrisome wakies for good. He was ready for a peaceful, snoreful sleep that lasted all day long. The next evening, Boris bounced out of bed and got dressed for school. As he skipped out the door, his parents could only scratch their heads in wonder. His surprising silence had kept them awake all day. Miss Happy Snout was at the door as usual. "Good night, Mabel." "Good night, Hubert." "Buenos noches, Carlos." "Good night, Who was this bright-eyed cub? Are you a new student?" Miss Happy Snout asked. You might say that." Boris turned to his cubmates and winked. "Do you want a hint?" "Well, yes, please," everyone begged. So Boris faked a humongous yawn. He went, "Oh, it's Boris!" his cubmates cried. They could hardly believe it. This cub looked more awake than anyone had ever met. Boris could hardly believe it either, but he didn't want to miss out on 1 minute. Now his cubmates sang a new tune. "Everyone join the chorus, give 3 cheers for Boris. Hooray, hooray, hooray! Get it? Got it? Good!" From that night on, Boris became the liveliest cub in school, and every morning he went home for a good, long sleep. And that is the end.